Hello everybody, my name is Nemo and this is building Sky in Scale, the blue and green Simic deck in Jewels of the Planeswalkers 2013. Now if you want to see any of my other deck builds, then the link to that is going to be at the end of the video. So you can skip to that if you're more interested in seeing another deck being built. Or, I mean, the way I built them. And of course the best way to see if one of the decks that's missing from the deck builds, I'm gonna do them all eventually. And of course the best way to find when I'm gonna do those is to just subscribe to my channel, which there's also gonna be a button for that at the end of this video as well. So having said that, let's get into the deck build, Sky in Scale, and let's see how I built this. Now I went for a very late game approach, which is why I'm running all of the lands, all of the lands. You have a bit more islands than forest, which I really don't like in this deck. Is that I keep drawing a lot of islands, where I might have wanted forests instead. Anyways, I'm running, what is that, 25 lands. So yeah, the most land I can make of it. And I'm obviously running all of these Coiling Oracles. They help ramp you, and even if not, they draw you another card. There's just no reason not to run these if you're in blue and green. You want to run all 4 of those. So Pongify, some creature removal. It's a 1-cost creature removal. It's like the green card, except it only works on creatures, but they can't be regenerated. And yeah, it's pretty good. You can sometimes use it as a combat trick. Turn your own 1/1 that drew your card into a 3/3, kill their 2/2, and get some advantage from that. So then it's really good. Quest from the Gemblades. For the Gemblades is a really amazing enchantment. Makes combat a hell of a lot harder for your opponent, and they have to actually yeah, I mean, you don't just put this on something the first chance you get. You just, like, you're trying to trick the opponent with it. So you wait to put it on the creature when you get the most advantage from it. So that's the way that card works. Regrowth gets you back a card. Let's now look at the 1 and 2 drops up here. Groundswell is a worse version of Giant Growth, and Giant Growth, I already don't really like Giant Growth, and this is a little worse. Most of the time it's gonna be +2/+2. If you want to defend with it, like, you can landfall on the opponent's turn, jeez, with Terramorphic Expanse, but I don't know. So there's a chance to get the +4/+4, but most of the time it's going to be +2/+2, and then it's worse than Giant Growth, less reliable. And I already don't really like Giant Growth that much, so the card isn't really that good. Chaos Skyfolk, they're interesting. They do help a little bit early game, but in the end I felt like they don't do enough. They don't have like an ability, although they have flying, but I mean, they don't have something special. They don't draw you an extra card or anything, and I felt that there's plenty of other cards that are more important to this deck, so I don't include them. These guys as well, I don't include them. Like, this is the aggro package. At first I thought that even though I'm building a slow deck, I may want some of these just to defend with, but no, I just don't think they're doing enough for me. The way I set this deck up, and you can definitely make this into like an aggressive deck, but that's definitely not the purpose of this deck, and I think you'll find that you'll be falling behind easily, and opponents will have easy time, you know, just trading 1 for 1 and getting value out of it, because your deck isn't designed to be aggressive. So I feel that that's not that strong, and the deck does work as a slow deck. I didn't think it would in this format. I really thought this deck was gonna be just cursed to never get any wins when I first saw it. But it does get some wins. Of course, it's still a bad deck. It's definitely not in the upper half of the tier list, I would say. But I mean, it does work, and you can get some wins with it. And it is a very fun very fun deck to use. And yeah, Vidalcan Heretic, a green, a blue 1/1 that when it deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. It's interesting. Drawing card is of course good, but this guy isn't gonna get in enough times that it's worth it. And at first my reasoning for putting him in the deck was that the opponent would have to kind of deal with the guy, and that may help, but it is just a 1/1, and just if they have 2/2 out, then they don't really have to even care about it. Especially if they attack with the 2/2 and then drop a 3/3, like, then it doesn't even stop the 2/2 from attacking. And that just happened a little bit too much for me to like this card. Otherwise, like, if they don't have something else to drop, then they can have to stay back, because otherwise you might draw a card when you attack with this guy if they can't block it. And or they have to use removals on him, and that's what I thought. You know, maybe he's good then, but he doesn't do enough for me in the end. I didn't think I wanted to include him. Claustrophobia is a removal, but it's just a horrible card. Like, it's a free cost pacifism, and you need 2 islands for it to even work. I've been stuck on not having the islands to play it, and that's really annoying. And the card just annoys me. It's just bad, and I don't really like it. Lore Scale Coatl is just a really good card. However, this card does a lot of work for you. He just grows bigger every turn, and he becomes something the opponent can deal with pretty fast. And yeah, that really helps out in making either they have to remove it and your late game creatures can be more of a threat, or they have trouble getting past it, or, you know, it's always useful. I never go, oh man, a Lore Scale Coatl. I'm always happy drawing these, so they're in the deck there. And Selkie Hedge Mage is... I would run this if it wasn't for the fact that the creature has to be tapped for the bounce effect to work. I would much rather this be just, you know, Mana War, or yeah, the mage guy that does the same thing that Mana War does. Yeah, I would much rather have that card than this thing. It does gain you free life, but gaining life is not always relevant, and yeah, it just doesn't do enough for me to really like this guy. So it's not in the deck. I wanted to... Nah, I thought that maybe I'd include one of them, but I just really dislike the card, and I get screwed when I draw it a lot of times, where I'm like, well, yeah, if only this guy was tapped, then I could really use this guy, but now I can't. And yeah. Snakeform is just amazing. A removal, draws you another card. It's just really good, and I wish I had 4 of these. Trygon Predator is obviously just an amazing inclusion. It's a flying 2/3 for free mana, which is already good, and then he can destroy any artifact or enchantment. Like, for instance, against the Golgari deck, if you have this out, they can't just drop, you know, the card that destroys everything, the enchantment, and tap out for that, and then activate it the following turn, because this thing will destroy it. So it just makes it really difficult for them to respond to it, unless they have a removal spell for this guy. And yeah, it's really useful, and there's plenty of other situations where this card is just really good, but that was the prime example I wanted to make there. But yeah, he's just really good. As a 2/3 flying for free, he's already really good, and his ability is just a real good bonus, a very, very good bonus in fact, because that's exactly what you want with artifact and enchantment removal, is that it's also something that can actually do something else when they don't have an artifact or an enchantment. So yeah, Wing Coatl is also really useful. I wouldn't say this is the strongest card in the deck, but Flash Death Touch is just a very good combination of abilities, and then to also have flying is even better, because now it can also kill flyers, you know, so it's removal basically. And yeah. Back when I still had Groundswell in the deck, there was a chance for this guy to be more than just removal, but without the Groundswell, he's just gonna be removal. So that's all he does, is remove creatures that attack you. Wistful Selkie, enter the battlefield, draws you a card, just good, obvious inclusion. Assault Zeppelids are good enough for me. They are a little bit aggressive, and this deck doesn't necessarily want to be aggressive, but a 3/3 flyer is never bad. and you can still block with them as well. 4 mana is a little bit much for them. I'd rather see them at 3 and be like a free 2 flyer, not even have to, maybe without the trample, something like that. That'd be good. But they're still really good, and they're extra copies of Trygon Predators that can't destroy artifacts or enchantments and are a little bit more expensive. So, and they have 1 more power. I think the whole comparison there went lost by me having 3 exceptions to it, but whatever. And the trample is kind of irrelevant most of the time, but it's nice. Omnibian, I didn't feel it did enough for me, plus it requires 2 forests, and that is just a bad mana cost to have in a dual color deck, so I didn't really like it. He was so happy he went back in, but nope, sorry dude. Simic Ragworm is just not so great either. The one thing I did think about for this guy is in 2-headed giant, if you're playing with the blue and red deck, Mindstorms, then they could put that the enchantment on this guy that draws you a card whenever you deal damage to an opponent with it, and a tap for to deal 1 damage and draw your card, basically. No, it doesn't draw your card whenever you deal damage. No, it just taps, draws you a card, and deals 1 damage to your opponent. If you had that enchantment on this guy, he'd be really good, because you can just keep untapping him as well. And it's like 1 blue, draw a card, deal 1 damage. Like, wow, that would be really insane to have that combination of cards. But that's the only good thing I can really think of for this guy. Other than that, he's pretty useless. And I'd much rather he had Vigilance or something. But even then, he's overpriced as well. I don't like him. Mystic Snake. He's the snake from Jungle Book is what it reminds me of. This guy is just baiting here and getting some kind of gem out of the water with his special magic mind-bending powers. And yeah, all of a sudden, there's this snake, which is bigger than his head. So yeah, the snake head is bigger than this guy's head. So it's a huge snake, and it bites you and hisses in your ears, and it just kills your spells and kills your guys, and it flashes. So yeah, it's awesome. It's really good. 2 blue is another one of these more difficult casting costs, but I feel like it's worth it. Just like it's a counter spell, you include it. So there. Sower of Temptation is obviously just really good as well. Again, 2 blue, but yeah, it's just good enough. It gets their creature and puts it on your side. Acidic Slime is your guy that gets rid of their enchantments or artifacts or lands, and I include an extra one. Originally in the preliminary deck build, I included only one because I have Trygon Predator to deal with artifacts and enchantments as well. But then I just felt like this guy does enough for me, even if it's just blowing up a land. Just the fact that he's Death Touch as well, like I felt that including another one would be a good use of my card slots. So yeah, I felt like I like him so much that I wanted another one. So yeah, even if he's not destroying artifacts or enchantments, he's great. So Aether Mutation is really good to keep the opponent busy. Sorry, I did it again. And it gives you 1/1 saplings. So yeah, it's just almost always you wanna use the Aether Mutation. Sometimes, however, I feel like it doesn't do enough for me. It doesn't ramp me. It doesn't get me the other cards I need. And the other 5 drops, like Murkfiend Leash, usually ends the game. And if he doesn't, then your deck is kind of failing, which his deck does. Don't get me wrong, but like he should end the game. That's what he's for. But yeah. Momir Vig obviously gets you whatever you need, so you're good there. An Overbeing of Myth helps you get to these later drops, which you need. So, in comparison, like Aether Mutation really slows the game down, but it slows you down as well, because you had this instead of one of these other 5 drops. So I don't want to include 3 of them, but 2 of them is definitely good. So, Indirect Stomp Powder is not needed because you have Acidic Slime. If I ever see someone run this card in this deck, I don't know why you would do that. I have no idea why anyone would want to do that. You have enchantments that are of your own that you don't want to get killed. I guess if you're really aggressive that you want this card, but I don't see it. Anyways, Mitotic Slime is a really good card, but it doesn't really fit the deck. It doesn't do anything that this deck really needs, and yeah, the other 5-drops do. So even though it's a really good card, it doesn't fit the deck, so not in there. Multani Maro Sorcerer is an interesting card, but most of the time when I got my 6 lands, I don't have much cards in my hand, and this guy would be useless to draw then, so not in there. Training Whelk, he's good. I'm impressed. He's good. I tried him. He's good. He's almost always useful. Like, you can get a board state quite easily where the opponent has to play something to deal with something, and then you just profit when you have Training Whelk, and you counter their spell, get an even bigger dude, and all of a sudden you're really running ahead in the race. You just need to get one turn where you're getting something that the opponent has to either you stall the board and he has to play something to deal with that, because the longer the game goes the better it is for you, or you're actually winning on board and the opponent does have a good card to deal with what you've got, but he has to actually play it, and then you have Training Whelk and you counter the spell. It's great. Most of the time, if I'm at 6 mana, I have this guy on hand, and I'd rather just keep this guy back and not do anything than play whatever I have. And you don't have to always counter whatever they play. You only counter it if it's vital that you counter it, if it changes the board state. Like, if they play something that doesn't really change the board state or the clock you're on, then you can just let it go with this guy and just counter whatever they play next turn. Like, there's no hurry. There's no hurry with this deck. Your deck profits from things being slow, so there's no need to play this as soon as you can. And yeah, that means that you can really fish. Haha, fish, get it? Although he's an illusion, he's not a fish, but he looks like a fish. You can really fish for a good counter, for a good spell to counter, and make this guy really big. And yeah, that's cool. That's just really cool. Lately I got the big 8-cast spell in the blue, in the black-green deck. Death Mutation. Yeah, I countered that. The guy was pissed. That was hilarious. This guy became huge, but yeah, that's just a fun thing you can do with that. Like, imagine countering Worldfire with this guy. you get an 11/11, and their big Worldfire doesn't get played. Oh man, it's fun, because this is one of those cards that at first you think it's a fun card that you wanna include, but he's probably bad, so you don't include him. But then you actually try him, test him out, and he turns out to be good. And now you get all these fun situations that you were dreaming of actually are able to happen, because you can include the card in the deck because he is good. So that's fun. And the same for Fable of Wulfenal. Like, this is why I love this deck. Fable of Wulfenal is a good card as well. Like, this is just dream big kind of card, but it does work with this deck, and this is what you're aiming to do with this deck. Is actually, this is your main win condition, is Fable of Wulfenal. And yeah, he's if you get to survive the turn that you play this, and granted, like, you need to be at 6 mana, I get that, it's late game, and you play an enchantment that doesn't do anything the turn you play it, I get that. But if you survive that turn, then you're probably gonna win, because that's how good it is. And this deck is good at getting there fast, getting at 6 mana fast, and surviving. It does reasonably well at surviving too, because all these guys that you play to draw your cards are also chump blockers, or like, at least keep the opponent busy. And all you need to do is survive and have this go off and get some value out of this, and you're probably good to go. So yeah, 3 of these, because they are absolutely needed. These are the best cards in the deck, they will win you the game, and it'll be a lot of fun. So, include all 3 of those. 7 drops, Simic Sky Swallower. Like, yeah, I get it. I'm in 7 drops. Most of the decks I play, I don't even include 6 drops in. But this deck, it's a late game deck, and that's the only way you're gonna play it, and that's the only way it's gonna work well. So, yeah, Simic Sky Swallower. Yes, it's late, but the deck is able to get this late, and is able to play this guy, and when it comes out, he is big, he tramples, he flies, he is Shroud, so the opponent can't even deal with this card, and yeah, he's just really good. He's really good when he does come out, and most of the time I play him, I'm really happy to have played him. Sometimes you don't get the 7 mana and you're sad. I get it, that happens, like that's the weakness of this deck, and that's why it's not a super good deck, because it does rely on actually getting your manas. But yeah, it is just a really good card though, and it really definitely works, another good win condition. Biomantic Mastery, however, is just completely ridiculous, and no. This does nothing for you, it just draws you a bunch of cards, and it's 7 mana, like, I got stuff that does nothing at 6 mana, but wins me the game the next turn. I don't want to do the same for the 7 mana, that's a little bit ridiculous and overkill. Like, I got these Simic Sky Swallowers that when they come down really work really well. I don't need to go for the overkill there with the Biomantic Mastery as well. It's an interesting, like, I get how the card fits the deck, but yeah. By the way, did I actually mention this? Because I thought of mentioning it earlier, so I guess I'll do it now. Yeah, I know, we're going way back in time here. We're going way back to when I was talking about lore scale Coatl. But what I wanted to mention about this guy is that he grows bigger whenever you draw a card. So you'd think, haha, so I'll play that and then I'll play a Coiling Oracle. Actually, Coiling Oracle doesn't draw you a card, so that's something you want to keep in mind here. So he doesn't make your lore scale Coatl get bigger. And that's actually a situation you're gonna see a lot. So yeah. He actually reveals the top card of your library, and if it's not a land card, you put it in your hand. And since it doesn't specifically say draw a card, it doesn't draw you a card technically. So according to the rules of Magic, this guy won't get a +1/+1 counter off of it. So yeah, just something I thought you should know. But let's continue on with these big drops I'm not running. Protein Hulk is, or is it Protein Hulk? Because there's a lot of protein in these eggs. I don't know. I feel like there's a joke there. Anyways, meat and eggs we eat. Yeah, he's big, he tutors, he gets you the guys you need, but I don't know, he's just too big. At that time I want to win with Simic Sky Swallower instead, and that just does more work for me than being slow, even more slow, when I'm already at 7 mana now. And Momir Fig is just really good card, by the way. Get you whatever you need. I think I skipped along it a little bit earlier, so I thought I should say that. But it should be obvious that Momir Fig is an inclusion in this deck. It's just really good. Gigantomancer, yeah, just no. I don't have anything to bring this guy out early with like natural order, and I'm not even running it in Ancient Wilds, so I'm definitely not running it here. I wasn't running this guy in Trinity of Elements either. Like, so that's 3 decks that he's been in that I'm not running him in. So get out of here, Gigantomancer. Tidespout Tyrant. Yeah, he needs 3 blue. He's an 8-drop, and he needs to be on the battlefield. Then you need to survive that turn, and then play something. And plus the fact that he's 3 blue doesn't even just mean that he's hard to cast. It also means that you only get 1 bird token off of Fable of Wulfenal, and that's kind of irrelevant because Fable of Wulfenal, as I said earlier, is your main win condition. So you definitely, especially cards that come after Fable of Wulfenal, should cost you green and blue, or they have to be really good to be worth casting. And Yavimaya's Embrace almost made it, but 8 mana is just a little bit too much for this deck to do with. But this card is really good though, and yeah, I'd love to play this card. If there was a little bit more ramp in the deck, then I would include this card. It's just really good. But there's, unfortunately, 8 mana is just too much to reliably be able to cast that card. And yeah, that's why he's not in the deck. Anyway, so that's the build. Hope you enjoyed this little deck build video here. I try to go over these fast because I tend to make long videos out of them. So if there's any questions left to be asked, then go ahead and ask them. I will answer if I know. And yeah, that's Sky and Scale. So my name's been Nemo. My name will still be Nemo in the next video, and that's gonna be the gameplay video to Sky and Scale. So stay tuned to that, and see you in the next video. Bye.